Hello everyone, GuardianE here with another analysis and build guide video for Fire Emblem Heroes, today for the Light of Nohr, Brave Camilla. The much anticipated, sometimes controversial, but always beautiful and powerful Camilla has her own Choose Your Legends variant finally in the game, and what a unit she is. Now, I'll preface this by saying these are just some build recommendations and suggestions, but of course you should build your Camilla however you want to, so that she'll fit your needs. My main goal is to outline some powerful builds so that you can make the best informed decisions in building your Camilla. Feel free to let us know in the comments what builds you end up landing on. With that said, let's take a closer look at the character and showcase how you can best utilize her skills on the battlefield. Of course, Camilla hails from Fire Emblem Fates, as the eldest daughter of King Garen of the Kingdom of Nohr. As with many of her siblings, she was used as a political chess piece by her mother to gain favor of the king in exchange for personal comforts. In spite of the emotional vacuum and the harsh conditions of Nohr, Camilla, alongside her brother Xander, took up the mantle of being the mother and father figure to their siblings, providing for them the support that was woefully absent in their own childhoods. Camilla is known for her caring, graceful presence off the battlefield and as a whirlwind of destruction on the battlefield, almost always perched atop her trusty wyvern and leaving the enemy in shambles behind her. This version of Camilla comes with the title Light of Nohr, perhaps from an alternate reality where Camilla decides to take up the crown after the events of Fates and Revelations. She comes wielding her own unique staff, Sanngridr, as one of the few flying clerics in the game, and the first non-seasonal flying cleric. Now first, let's take a look at Camilla's stat line. She has 39 HP, 33 attack, 37 speed, 21 defense, and 25 resistance, with a total BST of 155, a new tier for flying mages alongside Brave Camilla. These numbers boast strong offensive capabilities in attack and speed, with some middling defensive stats in defense and res. She's definitely player phase oriented, however, she has enough substantial bulk to take a hit or two and keep on fighting. Now, in terms of optimal IVs, an attack asset is likely her most preferred boon. Given that she doesn't have access to damage-dealing specials, she wants to eke out all the upfront damage that she can, especially given how you can accrue additional initiating speed very easily on a flyer team. Also, comparatively, she doesn't have as impressive of an attack stat as she does a speed stat, so an attack asset does balance out her offensive stat line. As of right now, there are only 3 other flying healers in the game: Halloween Mia, Bridal Fjorm, and Hot Spring Sakura. When comparing them here, you can see that Camilla features higher attack and speed than Mia, while taking a slight hit to that defense and res, and Camilla trades 1 attack for 3 more speed with Fjorm, while having overall better defensive stats as well. This is partially because Fjorm's stat line is HP loaded in order to help her activate her weapon's effects. When compared to the younger Hoshiden princess, Hot Springs healer Sakura, Camilla trades 3 points of attack for 5 points of speed, and nearly swapped defense and res between the two. Brave Camilla's unique staff, Sanngridr, sports 14 might, among the highest attack for staves in the game, a built-in dazzling effect to prevent counterattacks, and a Swift Sparrow 1.5 effect, granting her a +3 to attack and speed when initiating combat. Sanngridr also casts gravity on the enemy target, as well as any adjacent foes, leaving their mobility crippled until their next action. It should be noted that this is the first time we've seen an in-combat stat boost attached to any staff. While not necessarily bringing anything new to the table, Camilla's staff combines several of the most threatening offensive abilities that clerics offer in one deadly package. We'll talk a little bit more in detail about the staff when discussing builds a little bit later. So, why pick Brave Camilla? Well, firstly, she's a rare weapon and movement class combination. As previously mentioned, there are only 3 other flying clerics that exist in the game thus far, and all of those are seasonals with limited availability. Camilla will provide unique and interesting utility to flyer teams, so if you're a flyer team enthusiast, she has a lot to offer you. Being a flyer will grant her some wonderful movement options, including being able to utilize both guidance and flyer formation. Camilla has strong offensive power for a cleric, and is currently the fastest cleric in the game. Her attack is nothing to scoff at either, especially considering stacking flyer buff support. Camilla can use the potent, wrathful, dazzling combination affectionately referred to as the Razzle-Dazzle, which will allow her essentially to act as a ranged magic sweeper, picking off enemies with powerful magic and debuffs from a distance without fear of retaliation. As a cleric, Camilla has powerful debuff potential and offers unparalleled utility to team compositions in one package. She can stat debuff, movement debuff, reset enemy specials, remove status effects, and keep your team healthy, all while doing so from a safe distance. As with most Brave variants, Brave Camilla has a robust starting kit, out of the box. If you're lacking in the appropriate skill fodder, never fear, since she's very usable and has more or less a complete loadout as soon as you summon her, which of course you're free to tailor as you acquire more powerful or appropriate skills for your own playstyle. Camilla is very flexible. She can find a home on a pure flyer team or a hybrid team. The utility she offers is not limited to flyer teams, though maximizing her offensive potential is. Further, Camilla has her pick of the litter when it comes to staves, and there are plenty of unique and powerful options out there, allowing for a ton of versatility and customization. If you opt to take her as your free pick, Camilla will have a neutral asset flaw set. However, even if you summon her from the banner with less than optimal IVs, it will have low impact on Camilla's overall strength on your team. She may not run certain builds as efficiently or effectively that rely on raw damage, but she will still have all the substantial tools that come with a flying cleric. Now, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. One weakness of Camilla is that she has rather limited inheritance options. Many fun skills are locked away from clerics, limiting their offensive potential or even debuff potential like smoke skills. Some unique staves are on the harder side to come by, being locked to seasonals. And also being a flyer, she doesn't have access to breath skills, wrath, special spiral, and the other recent bevy of infantry locked abilities. Another danger for Camilla are null C disrupt users such as Nyla, which will neutralize the dazzling effects of her staff and make her susceptible to counterattacks. So now that we've had an overview of Brave Camilla as a whole, let's take a look at some example builds. This build offers a wonderful blend of raw damage, residual collateral damage, and powerful debuffing effect, all with very low investment. With the increased damage from her native weapon and Camilla's natural offensive stats, she deals substantial damage to the enemy. Gravity Plus allows easy kiting and safe damage, especially for flyers that don't have to worry about the majority of terrain obstacles. The AI in Fae is prone to clumping on their approach, especially when movement-based assists are involved. This makes them perfect for using gravity against. One of the biggest threats in Fae is overlapping damage ranges, but a well-placed gravity can neutralize this threat and keep the entire team safe. While there's nothing terribly new here, it's effectively plus 7 might over the traditional Gravity Plus, which is a lot of damage. With this build and neutral HP at 0 merges, Camilla can attack 5 times while her push effect A-slot is active. That's up to 70 collateral damage per surrounding enemies, and a boatload of damage on the original targets. For short skirmishes, that's mostly all you would need. Even though Camilla has no issue being a one-woman army, you have the rest of your team for cleanup as needed. For prolonged battles or multi-battle challenges, Heavenly Light can be used for solid self-sustain, since it will heal all allies, including Camilla, upon use. Of course, this is not without its costs, as it can inadvertently heal allies outside of Desperation, Vantage, or Brazen range. So a more practical choice may be to forego one of the Savage Blows for the Renewal Seal, which will more or less guarantee that Camilla never has to worry about her A-slot dipping below the activation threshold. Live to Serve can also function in this capacity, since it allows Camilla to self-heal when healing her allies. Windfire Balm Plus from Brave Veronica can be used as a special in order to provide buffs to bonus units that want to secure the kill in modes like Arena. And as usual, Goad Flyers that's commonly seen on Paula, or Hone Flyers that you can get from Hot Springs Camilla, are great C-slot options as well. Or you could simply keep her native attack tactic for stat boosting support on hybrid teams. Now that said, if Arena score booster optimization is your goal, you could instead opt for Pain Plus for a whopping plus 24 residual damage to surrounding enemies and 10 recoil damage on the targeted foe. This will allow Camilla to melt the enemy forces down to a sliver of health and allow the bonus units to secure the kills for maximum point growth. With a dazzling refinement, it keeps Camilla safe from counterattacks with the exception of the occasional Null C Disrupt user, and no Wrathful Staff in the kit ensures she doesn't steal kills away from the bonus unit. The B-slot is flexible here, but Guard is an excellent choice just to ensure that the enemy doesn't have a special ready to go when the bonus unit initiates. Other excellent options would be Chill Defense, that you can get on Wallheart, or Chill Res from New Year's Leguarn, depending of course on whether or not the bonus unit does magical or physical damage. Wings of Mercy is another decent option, allowing Camilla to swoop in and provide heal, debuff removal, or simply chip away at the enemy when one of her allies reaches the appropriate HP threshold. The bonus unit can further be equipped with the Hardy Bearing Seal just to make sure he or she isn't susceptible to a Vantage death. Windfire Balm Plus from Brave Veronica can be replaced with Earth Water Balm Plus from Loki, Fire Flood Balm Plus from Spring Jenny or Hot Spring Sakura, Earthfire Balm Plus from New Year's Levitain, just to increase arena scoring since those are the highest SP value specials available for healers. Now, speaking of scoring, the missing variable for this kit is the yet-to-be-released but fairly inevitable C dual flying skill in her A slot. Now, in the meantime, she can more or less utilize any A slot skill, but C dual flying will eventually provide her with a BST boost to 170, making her scoring competitive for both the arena modes as well as allegiance battles. As a placeholder, we've put Fortress Defense Res here for score maximization and to increase her bulk so that she can tank hits as necessary. She can also use Brazen Defense Res 3 that can be gotten from Male Kana or Harden, although it does sacrifice some SP cost. Now, a more gimmicky variation of the Pain Plus build that I thought bared mentioning is centered around using Camilla to tank incoming attacks. By melting the enemy HP with a combination of Pain Plus and Savage Blow, and then letting the enemies kill themselves on Camilla's Vantage. The Pain and Savage Blow combination will yield 24 damage to surrounding enemies on player phase, and once it's the enemy's turn to attack, they'll collide into Camilla's Vantage and get one-shot due to their already low HP. Close Counter ensures that enemies of all types will be able to take that hit and crumble. Miracle can charge in the meantime and allow Camilla to take an errant hit if you may have miscalculated the damage output. While this is a fun build, it is rife with weaknesses. Getting into Vantage range without dying can be a challenge, except in modes like Aether Raids, where you can purposefully trigger traps to lower your own HP. However, Aether Raids are also full of healers and healing towers, which will serve to boost the enemy HP back to full within a turn or two. This makes it exceedingly difficult to trigger the desired effect in this mode. That said, it's a build that's very satisfying to pull off, and a lot of fun to see in action, which is at least part of why we're playing, right? Candlelight Plus, and the more common non-seasonal version, Flash Plus, has been in the game for a very, very long time, and it provides healers the very useful ability to completely shut down enemy phase units. You know those tanky armors that sit there in Aether Raids with Vengeful Fighter just waiting for you to approach? Yeah, this is the build that trivializes those units by putting Camilla in more of a support role, and allowing the rest of her team to mop up. They can easily chip away without fear of retaliation. Common setups involving one-turn Black Luna or Regnal Astras are no longer a threat. And because the build is centered around the utility of the effect, the asset flaw combination that you run with doesn't really matter, because she's more of a support role rather than an all-out offense role. This build is not without its flaws. Null Sea Disrupt is the bane of cleric users in general, and more so against Candlelight Flash Plus users, since it renders their status effect completely void. Of course, that's just one enemy on a team, and it's easy enough to take care of the Null Sea Disrupt user separately. Nevertheless, that one skill does more or less shut down everything that this build does. Because she's playing a support role here, and because you could potentially be chipping away the enemy for a number of turns, I slotted Goad Flyers in the C slot just so she can provide ample stat buffs to her allies, and Renewal to make sure that she had self-sufficiency for the push skill. Of course, you could also safely run Hone Flyers as a phenomenal support skill, and because she has Restore Plus in this kit, that means that she can eliminate the threat of any debuffs or panics on her allies. Speaking of self-sufficiency, this Absorb Plus build is centered around tanking hits at a choke point. By no stretch of the imagination is Camilla a tanky unit by herself. That said, having a lack of color disadvantage, with the exception of Raven Tomes, has its advantages. Further, in a Flyer Ball setup, such as in Aether Raids, Camilla will have access to up to 5 Ward Flyers, which is the equivalent of a plus 20 defense, plus 20 res, not to mention potential seals that will also passively provide and stack defensive boosts. Absorb Plus will allow Camilla to heal back immediately as she deals damage. The Wrathful Refinement ensures that she does damage and gains enough heal back through her attacks. The Restore Plus, depending on your map, could be an issue. With too much freedom, Camilla might break formation to heal her allies from the rampant debuffs they suffer on turn 1 in Aether Raids. Restore 1 is best suited to very tight formations, locked in by structures. But of course Recover Plus is another fine option. Miracle for the special will allow her to tank one hit for free once charged, which should be relatively easy to accomplish once she's on the front lines. Guard in the B slot will prevent special charge in the enemy forces, Ward Flyers supports the other members of the team, and Iote's Shield ensures that she can tank a hit from archers. You could of course opt to forego the Iote Shield and instead put on Brazen Attack Speed 3, which is an excellent seal option as well, which will enhance Camilla's attack power once her health gets lower, thereby also increasing her self-healing potential. This build is meant for stalling and waiting out the enemy turns in an Aether Raid's defense setup. What is perhaps a slightly controversial pick, Trilemma Plus is one of those seemingly situational staves, but can be used to great effect when part of a planned strategy. Trilemma inflicts the Triangle Adept effect on the enemy, and surrounding enemies within 2 spaces. What this means is that they both get a 20% boost of effectiveness against the color that they're strong against, and a 20% reduced effectiveness against the color they're weak against. The weapon, except in specific map setups, is an absolute mess in the hands of the AI. However, in the hands of a strategic player, Trilemma does nothing but improve matchups, damage, and reduce risk. In most situations, a player has the sense to bait the enemy AI appropriately, just out of reach of a powerful player phase unit with color advantage, or force the enemy AI into the player's tanky enemy phase unit, waiting with open arms. Trilemma only serves to enhance this further by ensuring more kills and eliminating unnecessary damage taken. There's also a pretty fun gimmick you can employ with a Cancel Affinity 3 tank. If your mixed phase tank is not B-slot reliant, Cancel Affinity 3 will serve to completely neutralize color advantage when paired with Trilemma's effect. If Camilla sneaks forward, deploys the Trilemma effect, and her Cancel Affinity 3 friend pivots over her, they'll be able to tank everyone without having to worry about color disadvantage. Now for this build, really any special will do, however, Earthwater Bomb Plus would increase the defensive power of your enemy phase tank. The current meta is incredibly special cooldown reliant. Blade skills, breath skills, fighter skills, special spirals, and pulses. These are worked into most threatening team compositions out there. Further, most Abyssal level challenges feature a character with a fully charged special, ready to go and wreak havoc on you for daring to bait them. With Dazzling Witchy Wand and Flyer mobility, Camilla can safely nullify these threats from a distance while repositioning to safety. Witchy Wand inflicts the Guard effect on enemies, and also in a smoke-like 2-tile range. This means that any unit that would normally have gained a charge to their special when attacking or being struck will get that charge nullified. However, if there are cooldown enhancing skills on the opponent, say a breath skill that would provide a +2 charge, Guard will lower the charge to 1 instead. Further, it resets the enemy's cooldown, so turn 1 charges like Quicken Pulse or Mistletoe are nullified once they are struck after turn 1. This is especially effective in Aether Raids, where Ophelia traps run rampant, and you can opt to strike a nearby ally and reduce Ophelia's instant AoE special back to its 4-turn CD. Since it's good in Aether Raids, Restore Plus is a natural choice to get rid of any pesky debuffs. Miracle can be a clutch assist, allowing Camilla to tank what would have been a fatal blow, and inflict Guard at the same time if she was able to counterattack. Goad Flyers for the C slot or Hone Flyers for the C slot are both excellent options, and Renewal for the seal also allows for that self-sustain. Live to Serve is also a seal option if you plan on healing or using the Renewal slot elsewhere. The C and the seal slots are really flexible here, and you could even run the double Savage Blow setup. So, you've decided on a build or two, and now you're trying to figure out who works best with Camilla. Naturally, Camilla feels right at home in a Flyer team, and thus most of her best allies are going to be Flyer-based. That said, this is not gospel, and given her intrinsic utility, you could run her on almost any team. Hybrid teams in particular will be able to take advantage of guidance, ground orders, or even double tactic stacking in the C slot and seal. As far as specific allies, Air is a wonderful choice since Camilla can take full advantage of Air's sparkling boost to stay healthy, even after the recoil damage from her native A-slot push skill. Raventome users are the most prevalent risks to Camilla, and the most prevalent Raventome users happen to be green. Given that, a tanky and powerful res-based tank is a great choice to support Camilla. To that end, Winter Tharja can be a nice option. Hoshidan Festival Micaiah is also a strong pairing, considering her enormous res and dance utility. Speaking of dancers and refreshers, Legendary Azura features a unique 3-tile mobility for flyers upon her Grey Wave singing ability, and that utility synergizes well with Brave Camilla. Mythic hero Naga can help by giving Camilla dragon effectiveness on her weapon, making her already deadly offensive capabilities that much stronger against the often bulky dragons. And finally, Aversa is a great pick here as well, since Camilla will help to keep her HP topped off in order to keep Aversa's Knight active. And Camilla can take full advantage of the map-wide debuffs deployed by Aversa's weapon. And that about wraps it up for our guide to Light of Nohr Camilla. Hopefully the guide was able to inspire you to come up with your own creative ideas for this versatile, flexible, and powerful character. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please feel free to leave us a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more Fire Emblem Heroes content. Please let us know what builds you'll be trying out with your own Camilla in the comments as well. We thank you all so much for watching. We really, really do appreciate you all taking time out to watch our guide. It means the world to us. And until next time, let's protect those skies.